topic of Tapasya. Anyone know what Tapasya means? Heard the word before? No? Okay, yeah. Okay. Of course, Prabhupada. Yes. So, I can educate everyone on this mysterious topic. Tapasya kind of means austerity, but not quite. It's a Sanskrit word. Sanskrit being an ancient language from over 5,000 years ago that most of the world's languages are based on. You can trace roots of Latin and even Mari back to Sanskrit, much of the same words. So a more exact definition of tapasya is like a paragraph long, and here's the paragraph. Tapasya means voluntarily accepting some inconvenience. That is called tapasya. Suppose I am accustomed to smoke or drink. If I give it up, there will certainly be a little inconvenience. But for the better cause, I have to suffer voluntarily. I am tolerating. That is called tapasya. And this human form of life is meant for that tapasya. So, this is Srila Prabhupada, who translated all of the books from Sanskrit to English, and is a great teacher of yoga science. So, he's explaining that tapasya means voluntarily accepting inconvenience. It's kind of, austerity doesn't quite translate well, because when people think of austerity, people think, ooh, the government is cutting social services to save money. I don't want that. Stop the austerity. There's a protest in the UK 2 years ago. The government's cutting healthcare, cutting childcare, cutting police, cutting everything. No one likes the austerity. Where is all the money gone? So, no one likes austerity. Similarly, if you give a solution to an illness, you could change your lifestyle, or you could take toxic medicine that kills you. Everyone lined up, yes, give me toxic medicine. I love it. Similarly, on the topic of no one liking austerity, during COVID, I remember when it first broke out, this demonstration. I will not trade my freedom for your safety. I don't want to accept austerity in exchange for you being safe. No, that's too much. Doing something for other people, no way, not in my country. And similarly, and slightly more depressing, if you look at the death rates from COVID, most of the deaths were people with pre-existing conditions, such as heart disease, diabetes, lung disease, or high blood pressure, all of which can be significantly mitigated with lifestyle changes. So you become vegetarian, your risk of heart disease goes right down. You cut out the sugar, especially the sugary drinks, your risk of diabetes goes right down, and so on. Stop smoking, you don't get lung disease, and all these things. So pretty much, we could have reduced the number of deaths from COVID by a factor of 10, from roughly 3 million to 300,000, if people were willing to undergo some austerity for lifestyle changes. But unfortunately, austerity is hard. It means voluntarily accepting inconvenience for a higher purpose. That's hard. No one likes to do it. And that's the meaning of human life? No, I don't want to accept inconvenience for a higher purpose. I want to have fun, right? So, if we turn to Bhagavad Gita, the ultimate book of yoga science, it gives knowledge of the self, the world, time, and creation and everything in a very compact, amazing way. And anyone that's not read Bhagavad Gita, I thoroughly recommend reading it. And one of the things it explains is that this tapasya, this concept of voluntarily accepting inconvenience for a higher purpose, that your choice of how you perform tapasya, what austerities you accept, that shapes your future happiness, which is amazing. Everyone here has the free will to determine their future happiness by way of what kind of tapasya or austerities they accept for themselves. And this talk is going to be on how you do that. So first of all, modes of nature, 3 different ways, 3 different results depending on the nature of the austerity that someone accepts. Goodness, passion, and ignorance, the various lines in the chart. Ignorance, the mode of ignorance, the result of ignorance, happiness and ignorance, starts kind of bad and then gets worse. And then gets really bad. Starts kind of, oh yeah, I mean, this is not exactly good, but I find some taste in this, and then it gets really bad. Passion starts off amazing, it's like the best time you've ever had in your life, and then comes the hangover. And you feel the worst time you've had in your life. And then you do it again, and best time, and it keeps going, oscillating up and down, never stopping. And goodness starts off, this is kind of uncomfortable, I don't like this, this is not nice, this is some effort. But then gradually gets just a little bit better, until it gets to a steady state of kind of continuous contentment. Not as high as the peaks of passion, but steady and comfortable. Some people might even call it, oh, that's boring. But, so everyone can take their choice. Which of these paths of tapasya that they want to engage in? Goodness, passion, or ignorance. So let's start with ignorance. If you really want happiness that starts off bad and gets worse, you perform tapasya, penance or austerity, performed out of foolishness, with self-torture, or to destroy or injure others. And that is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Anyone someone to sign up for this? Well, some people do, like this guy. He's like, yeah! I'm going to perform austerity in the mode of ignorance and bring it. It kind of hurts, but I'll push through it. And then my foot will be all burnt and I won't be able to walk for a month. But yeah, it's good. Or the people that run the Badwater Ultra Marathon. Anyone heard of this? No. It's a marathon, and a marathon is too easy. 42 kilometers, too easy. This is 215 kilometers. And not only do you run like 8 marathons back to back, you do it in Death Valley in the summer when it's 50 degrees Celsius. And only the most elite athletes are stupid enough and powerful enough to make it through this. You have to wear these white reflective suits, and the support team stops every couple of kilometers, and the runners dive into a coffin full of ice just to cool down. It's crazy. Many have permanent disabilities from running this. One New Zealand ultra-marathon runner, Lisa Tamati, who's a really nice person, but she can hardly walk anymore. No, but she's done this ultra-marathon. Not just from this one, she's done a lot of these. But, yes. Austerity in mode of ignorance. Starts off pretty bad and gets worse. And in the Krishna writings, it explains that a very powerful personality named Hiranyakashipu wanted revenge against one of his enemies. And he knew that he was not powerful enough to defeat the enemy with his current power, so he underwent tapasya, or austerity, to gain more power. And he did this with a particular yoga practice where he stands on his tiptoes with his hands raised above his arms, and does that for years, standing on his tiptoes. Does it for many, many years. And because of the strength of his will, even though his body was rotting and being eaten by ants, he kept standing there and endured it. And just the strength of his willpower kept his body from dying completely. And then eventually, from that yogic power, he basically caused global warming, but all over the universe. The temperature of the universe increased, and the various personalities in charge of maintaining the universe were like, hey, stop it. You're endangering everyone in the universe. We'll give you what you want. Stop your yoga practice, it's too intense. And then he used it to enslave everyone in the universe, pretty much. So you can read this story in Srimad Bhagavatam, which we have set out there in the 7th canto. Pretty amazing story. So, and there's much more to it. So, austerity in the mode of ignorance. Prabhupada again. He explains that tapasya means penance or austerity. They are great scientists, great thinkers. They are engaged in great penances. They are tolerating very severe pain in order to discover something. They have got that tendency. Just like they have discovered this atomic bomb, that requires some penance or austerity. But Krishna says, don't discover the atom bomb, discover me. If you are so painstaking, if you are such a great scientist, discover me. Oh, this is not possible. We can kill it. That is possible. And so this is going on. The Manhattan Project to develop the atomic bomb cost $23 billion, and 100,000 people worked on it over many years of World War II. And the result is we have the technology to kill everyone on Earth. Great. So that required lots of sacrifice, and sacrifice to injure others. So let's move on from mode of ignorance to mode of passion. Remember the oscillating up and down happiness that you get from performing tapasya and passion. Penance or tapasya performed out of pride for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. So, up and down happiness performed out of pride to get respect and honor. So, as Gitavali mentioned, anyone here been to university? I studied in the University of Manchester, and particularly in this building in Manchester. I studied computer science for 4.5 years, studying the same topic. It was hard. Believe me, it was hard. I wouldn't want to do it again. I don't wish it on my worst enemy to do a PhD. And at the end of it, you have this 5-hour exam where professors grill you on everything on the book on the 200-page book that you wrote about this topic that no one cares about. Like 50 people in the whole world can understand what you wrote about. and then one of those 50 people comes and grills you on it and tries to find every little mistake and points it out and then makes you correct it. And so I had major corrections, so I had to spend like 3 months rewriting the thing, and then submit it again, have the whole thing again, and then finally they're like, oh, okay, here you go. Here's a piece of paper. You can call yourself a doctor of philosophy and computer science. So some people undergo this kind of tapasya. There we go. To gain respect. Not so much in New Zealand, where you have a PhD and nobody cares, but in my country, my home country where I was born, of Germany, you have a PhD, and because Germany has this huge, long intellectual tradition, you call yourself doctor. People go, oh yeah, okay. And you use your doctor title everywhere. You see people say, Herr Doktor, to you, and so you're like, oh yeah, I'm a doctor, yeah. so people in Germany can do a PhD to get that respect. All right. So further in Bhagavad Gita it explains, those who undergo severe austerities and penances, performing them out of pride and egoism, who are impelled by desire and attachment, who torture the material elements of the body as well as the super soul dwelling within, are known as asuras. So these people who perform tapasya in the mode of passion with lots of desire and attachment, and who torture themselves doing so, they are known as giving a special designation as asuras, which is described qualities of such a person further in Bhagavad Gita. So we'll watch a short video about someone that exemplifies intense desire, attachment, and this up and down of happiness and stress. And ultimately, you can see that the intense happiness and intense distress in the video, as the person's describing, that they don't even, well, watch for this. It's being attached, being unable to give up something, even though you know you should, and torturing yourself, and not even getting happiness out of it in the end. So watch for these themes as the person is describing. The person is Elon Musk, the currently richest person in the world, surpassed Bill Gates, and surpassed Amazon founder, Jeff Bezos. So, Oh yeah. Further in Bhagavad Gita, it explains that when there's an increase of motive passion, great attachment, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop. So, here in his own words.
You've said that this has been the toughest year for you, the most sort of taxing year for you. Like, why? 22 hours a day, or like what? How many hours?
Just working, so 7 days a week, sleeping in the factory. I worked in the paint shop, general assembly, body shop.
You ever worry about yourself imploding? Like it's just too much?
Absolutely. No one should put this many hours into work. This is not good. And people should not work this hard. They should not do this. It's very painful.
Painful in what sense?
It hurts my brain and my heart. So this is not recommended for anyone. I just did it because if I didn't do it, then Tesla, good chance Tesla would die.
Invested 100 million, then still needed more money. And then there was the big recession of 2008 and 9. And in the end, I had to invest everything. And I was borrowing money from friends to pay the rent.
You were on the edge of actually
I didn't even own a house. I didn't think it would be easy. Like I said, I thought they would probably fail. But you know, like creating a company is almost like having a child. So it's sort of like, how do you say your child should not have food?
So once you have the company, you have to feed it and nurse it and take care of it, even if it ruins you.
Yeah. Not as much fun being me as you'd think. There's definitely, it could be worse for sure, but it's, I'm not sure I want to be me. It has actually been a very difficult journey, I have to say. My priority right now is to try to add some more management bench strength to Tesla in particular, so that I can take a vacation. And in the last 12 years, I've only tried to take a week off twice. The first time I took a week off, the Orbital Sciences rocket exploded and Richard Branson's rocket exploded in that same week. Second time I took a week off, my rocket exploded. The lesson here is don't take a week off.
So yeah, you can see the intense attachment, can't give it up, and this is not any criticism of Elon Musk. He's done amazing things, and there's very few people in the world that can achieve what he's done. And I certainly admire Tesla and SpaceX and everything else that he's doing. But the result is not happiness of all of this. Yes, you're the richest person in the world, but his response to finding out he's the richest person in the world was, how strange. Well, back to work. So it's not like you can enjoy your money if you're working 22 hours a day. So, Bhagavad Gita, students of Bhagavad Gita can know what the result will be of their choice of attachment, their choice of tapasya. You get this up and down happiness and stress when you perform, when you pour all your austerity into the mode of passion. Now, let's get to tapasya in the mode of goodness, which is actually recommended by Bhagavad Gita for those that want steady, seemingly boring, but content happiness. Seemingly boring to someone in the mode of passion, but intensely satisfying to someone that is used to this goodness. So, I will talk about speech and the mind in regards to austerity or tapasya and goodness. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting or reading the Krishna literature. So, austerity of speech, speaking things that are simultaneously truthful and pleasing and beneficial and not agitating to someone. So I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but like someone does something that in your mind is stupid, and you would blast them, explode them, why you can't, and you start laying into them, which might be truthful, but is definitely not pleasing, not beneficial, and is definitely not agitating, is agitating, and results in, might make you feel good temporarily, but results in no beneficial effect. It's actually incredibly hard. Someone does something that needs correcting, and you explaining that to them in a way that's truthful, but also pleasing and beneficial and doesn't agitate someone's mind, that's hard to do. And it requires a lot of practice. And it actually requires tapasya, or austerity. It's an austerity to go, you're like, internally you're like, but, well, this could have been done a little bit better, maybe. Would you like me to help you improve this in the future? So that's just one example of austerity of speaking. And here is one Bhakti Yoga, Krishna Consciousness practitioner explaining this far better than I can. Raghunath Chopra, he was recently on a famous podcast. He was on Joe Rogan, and he's also on Rich Roll. This is from his Rich Roll interview, where he explains this austerity of speech.
Stop criticizing other people. Like the sound coming out of your mouth can be toxic. And that was a powerful thing. Stop criticizing. I realized I'm living with so much criticism in my mind. That doesn't mean we should throw discernment out. We need discernment. But the condemning language that happens on a regular basis, finding fault with other people, and how you would do things so much better if you were doing them, cut it out. Stop letting that pour out of your mouth. That's a big one. The second one is being tolerant, whereas criticism deals with other people. Another one is just dealing with life situation. Stop blaming the world for your unhappiness. And this is very powerful. It's transformational. Even if you're a materialist, this main teaching can transform your life. Because in the bhakti culture is nothing's actually happening to me, it's happening for me. That there's a benevolent energy lifting us higher and higher and higher. And we have to see that everything is for my edification, for my purification, and sometimes even tragic things. And so there's a firm faith that everything's happening for me. Now we shouldn't be heartless when it comes to someone else's suffering. I should say, okay, he's having a hard time. We should feel like I have to reach out to that person. They're having a hard time. But for my own situation, I should feel like, no, I'm going through a hard time, and this must be for my benefit. What is that benefit? And I can look at it. I can look at life like criticism, tolerance, and this is a huge one, number 3. And if you can add this one to your life, it's just such a game changer. It's I take no offense, meaning I will not be offended on a regular basis. And that's a very common thing. Sometimes we can see somebody talking over there, and I get offended. I think they're talking about me. So without provocation, I think someone's got something against me like that. So we don't hold any resentment. We don't criticize. We're tolerant. Next one, we see the good in others, and we let them know it. Find good. And this is what we're talking about. Instead of finding what this person's doing so wrong, what are they doing right? Why are they good? This is such a powerful practice in this day and age. Because otherwise we're going to lock in and we're just going to foster hate with others. And we're going to have no commonality whatsoever. What do we have in common? What is right about this person? And it's such a great thing. Truthfully, it's a marriage saver. It's a relationship saver. You know, what is good about this person? And then sharing it with them. Telling them why I appreciate you. And that lack of appreciation can really kill love quick. I mean, isn't that what romance is? Is full 100% appreciation for that person.
Right, and the second piece about letting that person know is crazy powerful.
Right.
And it's something that most of us don't do nearly enough of. Because everything that you just shared is so anathema to the way that we conduct ourselves in the kind of public conversations that are happening on social media, and we're all seeing the fractures, the fissures that are starting to expand in the fabric of, our society. Like, we're no longer able to productively communicate in a healthy way, and it's because we've lost sight of these very things.
And no one's happy.
So yeah, austerity of speech summarizes 6 points, 6 pillars of Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of love, the yoga of Krishna Consciousness. We're not criticizing, being tolerant, not taking offense, being quick to apologize, seeing the good in others and telling them, and being grateful. These are, writing a book that'll be published soon on diving deep in these six pillars, and they certainly require some austerity to do these things. It's not easy to cultivate these qualities, but the result is amazing. And the opposite, where you open the news and the government's done something, and immediately the opposition is like, this is terrible, we would have done a better job, this is down with the government, they should never have done this. Like, everything that anyone ever does gets criticized and thrown under the bus. People are constantly trying to find fault rather than seeing the good. And it's so distasteful to someone that's practicing this kind of yoga science. It's like, well, why do they communicate this way? This is not beneficial for anyone. And like Raghunath said, nobody's happy. And yet, they continue because of a profound lack of education in these kind of topics. So, further on, austerity and goodness in the mind. And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are austerities of the mind. Gravity, meaning being serious about something that's important. Someone that's grave is when something important is going on, they're very serious. They're, okay, we will do that thing. Self-control, you build self-control not by going, I won't do that thing, I won't do that thing. You build it by developing powerful habits, and the habits help control, and habits and values help cultivate self-control, not simply resisting something that is wrong. And Bhagavad Gita talks about this at length, on how to gain these kind of things, how to gain satisfaction, how to gain simplicity in lifestyle, how to gain gravity, self-control, purification. These are all austerities of the mind. You're not saying anything, they're all internal. And these things are hard to do, otherwise everyone would be doing them. But the result is long, ongoing, continuous happiness. Summarizing these points, Prabhupada, I found a particular lecture of Prabhupada from 1974 where he's explaining this. And I'll read it out. It's a little long, but very, very concise and adept at explaining this. So it is like that. You cannot by force enter, and this is an analogy introducing us to the topic, which helps understand what's going on. You cannot by force enter into any atmosphere unless you become fit to live there. By force, you cannot live within water. By force, the fish cannot live on land. You'll die. Similarly, by force, you cannot enter into the moon planet. You can't suddenly go to the moon, take off your spacesuit, and recline on a beach chair. No, it's not the right atmosphere for a human. Just like the fish out of water, it's not the right place. Therefore, they are frustrated. It is not possible. Similarly, without being Krishnaized, you cannot understand what is Krishna. You cannot associate with him. That is the process of Krishna consciousness, to become perfectly Krishnaite, as good as Krishna. That is the purification process. We've got so many dirty things with us. And when you start practicing Krishna consciousness, you kind of realize all the things you have to work on, and it sometimes becomes a little depressing. I thought I was good, but I realized all of the things that I can improve now. Ooh, this is overwhelming. But then you start seeing results, and then you gain some momentum. So one has to become pure. The first business is to become free from designation. if you think to yourself that I am American, I am Christian, I am Hindu, I am Indian, I am black, I am white, these are all designations. So, Savopati Vinirmukta. When you become transcendental to all these designations, you come to the platform of understanding, I am not this body, I am spirit soul, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Then you become happy. People think that, oh, this Krishna consciousness, isn't that just Hinduism? And no, it's the whole idea of Krishna consciousness is to get rid of all of these designations of the body and culture. Someone might be born into a particular culture, someone might have a certain body, and you go, oh, you're Indian, you're black, you're white, you're whatever. That's all completely external. Everyone is the same in quality, has a soul. Everyone's material body is simply a covering of that soul. And if the body is black or white, born in India, born in New Zealand, stamp themselves with Hindu, Muslim, Christian, whatever, doesn't matter. It's merely some cultural construct that is detrimental to ultimately being happy. And Krishna consciousness is get rid of all of that, throw that all out, and focus on what you actually are. And so you might go, okay, sign me up. What's the process of throwing all these things out and coming to realizing my true self, becoming so-called self-realized, understanding I am actually not this body, and becoming actually happy? There is, of course, some tapasya or austerity that needs to happen to make that happen. And one of those forms of tapasya, is the process of chanting. It is the process of purification. Just like we use soap to cleanse the body, and this is material, but the chanting is spiritual cleansing. So every time, that's why we do so much chanting, hear the laugh, the chanting cleans out the material designations and allows people to gain simplicity and self-realization and gravity and ultimately happiness by way of gaining all these good qualities and becoming able to perform this tapasya in the mode of goodness. So, in summary, tapasya means, in Sanskrit, voluntarily accepting some inconvenience for a higher purpose. We can choose our mode of tapasya in goodness, passion, or ignorance. Different mode results in different types or different styles of happiness and stress. You can choose what kind of distress and happiness and how they flow into you, and you can choose your style, what appeals to you. And tapasya in the mode of goodness purifies the mind, and a pure mind enables happiness. Thank you very much.
As you go through this purification process, would you be able to give an example in particular of, as the mind is growing awareness of what thought is an ignorant one versus one which is more of passion? Because for me personally, I think I flip between two modes at times in terms of being quite ignorant versus, so what's an example so I can help name it, I suppose?
I guess you read chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, and that explains examples in various things. Okay, food has different categories, and tapasya different categories, and sleep different categories. And then you can grow with that knowledge. You can grow to recognize. You can go, aha, I am now doing this, and if I make this other choice, then I can get a different result. And it's really just it's all laid out in Bhagavad Gita quite simply and clearly. And I guess as an example for myself, kind of the first as I was starting this process of Krishna consciousness, like 21 years ago now, I remember first awakening to this kind of consciousness by turning vegetarian and realizing that when I'm eating meat, that that's cultivating the mode of ignorance, and that's just causing suffering to myself. And almost by accident, I was like, oh, okay, so I'll just be vegetarian now. And I didn't really understand what was going on. There's one thing to make the conscious choice, but also by this chanting process, it's almost automatic. The cleaning happens, and you desire to elevate yourself from ignorance to through passion into goodness. Okay. Anything else? Don't be shy.
Is this guy who was doing the yogi, who got powers?
Yeah.
Is that the guy, the father of Prahlad? No.
Yes. Yes, he is. So you're asking about. Hang on. Yeah. This guy? Yeah. Hiranyakashipu, he's the father of Prahlad, and 7th canto of Bhagavatam, you can read about. His son was a great yoga practitioner, a great devotee, and he tried to teach his father everything he learned. He had a great teacher, Narada Muni as his teacher. So he had learned probably one of the, if not the best yoga teacher, yoga Krishna Consciousness teacher in the universe. he had learned from. Narada Muni is like the 14th oldest being in the universe, according to Bhagavatam. You can read all about it. It's fantastic. You can read it. Really? And in one sense, when you read it, you're like, what? But in another sense, it's so accurate on everything else. You're like, okay, maybe. What do I know? So yeah, you read about it. He tries to teach his father. You underwent all this austerity for these powers to not be killed by anything and to enslave the universe, but you're not happy. And he's like, shut up, son. You don't know anything. So yeah, thoroughly recommend picking up a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam and reading the story. It's quite something. Any other questions? Oh yes.
Thinking about Elon Musk as well. Probably he did not try, he's not doing Tapasya to become the richest man. Probably it could be just a side effect. What I know from him is that he's actually worried about what will happen after a few billion of years when Earth becomes inhabitable and Mars become more habitable.
Yeah.
This kind of, you can say that driven by a higher purpose. That's not just the money that is kind of motivated for. It could be just an incident that we could have a business plan. Probably is driven by climate change and all the benefits that come through electric vehicles and So is that not a higher purpose that he is doing the Tapasya for?
Oh yeah, like I said, I admire Elon Musk in a certain way. However, he's driven by this higher purpose to make all these things happen, and he's quite successful in his drive to do these things. And someone with he may well have consciously chosen, these things are so important that I choose to not get personal happiness to achieve them. And that would be, and not necessarily saying that happiness in the mode of goodness is necessarily better than happiness in the mode of passion. There's no value judgments here at the Laf. Everyone can choose what mode they would like for the result that they want. Some people actually like the oscillating up and down, intense happiness, intense distress, and more power to them. If that's what you want, here's how you do it. It's not that everyone has to come to goodness if they don't want to. Everyone has the free will to decide. So if Elon Musk decides, I want to work 22 hours a day and get no happiness at all in my life, but achieve these fantastic things, or get intense amounts of happiness in short bursts, and then intense amounts of suffering in bursts, and that'll be my life, then he has the free will to do that, and that's perfectly reasonable choice for someone to make. And we're not going to force anyone to come to goodness. But if someone prefers to have steady happiness, then there's a different means of going about getting that result. So everyone, each to his own. Anything else? No? All right. Thank you very much. It's been a great audience.